All right. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending. This session is called Shaping Your Story, the Role of Volunteering and Attitude in Finding Your Place in Finland. My name is Matthew Bowen. I am Chief Administrative Officer and also a project coordinator with International Professionals Finland, also known as InterProFinland. Uh, InterPro is mainly our target, our main target are the international professionals who've earned a degree abroad and are looking to be able to practice in their desired field here in Finland. So we have a flagship program called Degree Amplify, which is designed to help give personalized guidance so that people can understand what they have to do to get their degree recognized here in Finland and be able to practice in their desired field. We also participate in lots of different activities designed to just help overall integration, helping people's spouses, families, and we have peer support groups and lots of other things that we do with our partners. And so if you want to find out more, you can go to our website, interprofinland.fi. And then we have from Hei Dingo today, Daphne and Mara, and I'll let them introduce themselves now.
Thank you, Matthew, for the invitation and the introduction. I have to say that I followed InterPro for a while now, and I've never noticed that the logo has a Finnish flag, so that's pretty cool. So good. Hi, everyone. For the ones that don't know me, I'm Daphne, founder of Hei Dingo, and we're basically supporting job seekers to understand how to apply better to different job opportunities out there. So if you go on our website now, you can create your account. Welcome, and it's free. So join us now that you can. Other things, of course, I can happily answer. And I think one of the best topics that I like to talk about is about the attitude in job seeking. So happy to discuss about this today.
Excellent.
And about me, hi everyone. I'm Mara. I'm the CMO at Hei Dingo currently. Originally born in Italy, I've been in Finland for the past 10 years, always doing marketing and communications around startups. And I have to thank volunteering for my career in Finland. So I think that this topic touches me personally as both someone that has been a volunteer and has had volunteers. So I'm excited to have this conversation today.
All right, great. So the agenda is just to kind of go through. We'll spend however long. I mean, I'll allow for about 25 minutes or so for each topic, but if we go a little bit over or we take a little bit less, that's fine. Once we get to the end of that, we can kind of make another closing remark statement so that people know, our contact info and things like that, and then we can move on to the Q&A at the end. So for the first topic, we're going to talk about volunteering. And just kind of a couple of general questions there, like should you volunteer? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I think that we all probably are going to be supportive of the idea of volunteering, but it's more so what should you do to make sure that that volunteering is valuable to you? So I'll let you guys start with this discussion.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, I am very passionate about volunteering because I do think that it is an opportunity for everyone to show what they can do and what they bring to the table in scenarios where that's not a possibility. So, for example, for people that don't currently have a job or are currently studying and they just need experience, I think that volunteering is that perfect place to do get that sort of experience with no risks and without having to search all across the world for this sort of opportunities that are at the moment quite hard to come by. And I think that Finland specifically has a lot of volunteering opportunities. Volunteering is very structured, and volunteering allows you to do a lot of things that usually you need a lot of work experience to do. For example, fundraising or other things that are very specialized. So I do think that volunteering is great, but there are, of course, situations in which I would not encourage it. So, yeah.
Okay.
Like, for example, if someone is very busy or if someone has already a lot of work experience, I would actually start thinking, is this really something for me? Is this really like the way that I want to occupy my time? Of course, volunteering is an opportunity also to give back to, for example, the less fortunate, or to contribute to a cause that you might be very passionate about. But if you do not have time, is this the correct way to spend your time? Remembering that when there is volunteering involved, there's also people that are managing the volunteers that really value the times and the goals that they have set for themselves. And I think that not everyone should come in and disrupt those things if they don't think that they're really committed to this sort of opportunities that they're seeking.
Right. I think, well, first of all, there's like the type of volunteering where you're sort of like, I just really have a love for giving back to this community, and this is something that I want to be involved in. And that could be for, just about anybody, like just from this perspective of like general volunteering. But if we're looking at it from a standpoint of how can volunteering help lead to getting a full-time position somewhere, um, you want to make sure that you are able to, because it gives the opportunity to be able to go and do something and actually get your feet wet in Finland kind of thing. Uh, but you don't want to just end up going and working for somebody for free and it doesn't actually give you any real, uh, I guess, something to point to. You want to have something that you can show, I did this, and this is something that is helping me to establish a experience, I guess, in Finland.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that can translate into a skill that you can showcase, but not everything is as black and white as just you go volunteering and you're going to get a job. Of course, I think that this gets overly simplified usually in these sort of recommendations that are given to people with like not a lot of experience in Finland specifically, where everyone is just like, oh, why don't you volunteer? Why don't you try doing this? And I think that of course, volunteering is great. I recommend volunteering myself, but I think it has to be done
Mhm.
mindfully in the sense that, okay, you can go work at the bread queue, and that's amazing and good for you for wanting to give back to the community. But you have to think, okay, how does this actually prove that I'm a great software developer? How can I translate this experience into something that builds me as a great professional? And it's not as obvious as people think. Of course, some people are great at thinking about transferable skills. And I think that, for example, if you worked in a soup kitchen, you can say that you have done some sort of project management, you're very good at managing scarce resources and so on. But you have to think about this beforehand. And also, you have to think about um, what kind of volunteering experience actually is useful for you versus what would just be something that you do because you have time and you're really committed.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I can also jump on that. And something that I really appreciate what you're saying, Mara, is that you have to be like mindful of the intentions you have behind your time. And at the same time, I think if you don't go with the mindset of what am I going to get out of this, even if it sounds a bit selfish when it comes to volunteering for a good cause, it's still something with a meaning behind. And then it comes to if who knows about you volunteering, and on my personal perspective, if no one knows that you're volunteering, then it's okay, then it's only you, and then you'll be able to sleep in peace knowing that you did something good out there, especially in Finland. That's nice. People don't like to brag about their actions and what they're doing, but in our case, and if you have volunteered, and I know many people here have led volunteer teams, been a volunteer, but in our case, we have to be loud. And if no one knows you're volunteering, then I think we have to rethink our actions in that sense. What do you guys think, Mara and Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that uh, that you don't just do it like passively, I guess. You wanna make sure that you put it onto your CV and your LinkedIn profile, and that you let people know what you're doing so that you can point to all of the actual experience that you're getting, because it really helps to stand out. Like, oh, you're kind of, I mean, it kind of goes into a little bit sort of with the attitude thing as well. You're showing that you are a go-getter and a doer, and you make things happen, and you have motivation, and you have the ability to apply something. And that's what you wanted to be able to do as, at least in the prospect of trying to get yourself a paid position somewhere, be able to show like, I didn't just sit around while I was unemployed. I found something to do, and even though I wasn't getting paid for it, I made sure I rolled my sleeves up, and I improved the skill that I already had, and I learned a new skill, and these are the things that I've been doing. And that really helps you stand out from a person who isn't doing that. That's kind of always the thing also in the job hunt, is that you just I kind of compare this to they always say, you if you're being chased by a bear, you don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than the other person. And I think it's kind of similar in the job hunt, where it's like you don't necessarily have to be um, the most ideal candidate, but you just have to be better than other people. That's what you always have to be. Make sure that you're not at the bottom, and doing whatever you can to stand out and show that you have something to bring to the table.
Yeah, agreed. But at the same time, volunteering is so common in here that it has to be done a lot more mindfully than just, oh, I have to find something to fill my time while I'm unemployed. It has to be something that
Right.
can really paint you in the best light possible and that actually shows skills that you intend to use in your career, or that point to a direction that you're trying to take. So that's why I was mentioning, yes, everything is a transferable skill, but you have to be mindful about what skills do you want to learn? What do you want to highlight? I think, for example, volunteering at Slush is very common in Finland, and it's a very sought after experience for many people, especially students. And it's quite hard to volunteer there. It's not so easy to get in. But at the same time, if you are working, I don't know, at some event like Slush, and you're working for the sustainability team, so looking after that side of things, would that be the easiest um, thing to have transferable skills for some specific jobs, like we were saying, developers, or let's say marketers, because that's my experience? Maybe not. Maybe something a little bit more pointing to the skills that you are highlighting, like for example, being in the marketing team for a marketer would be easier. So that's what I mean. You have to be mindful about what you're using your time with, because again, you don't have infinite time, even when you're unemployed or even when you are between jobs.
Right. I would also say that it doesn't hurt to ask. In a lot of cases, people could probably get themselves additional opportunities just by asking for them. If you are volunteering with an organization and you have an interest, maybe like for instance, the Red Cross is a place where a lot of people could volunteer, and you're not necessarily doing something there that would improve your marketing skills or something like that, but you could say, hey, I'd like to help with that because I'm trying to improve that. And then they might say, okay. It's a good place to practice the language. It's a good place to probably be in a lot of positions where you're going to meet other people that could improve your network as well. Uh, so I think that where you're volunteering can sometimes have a big impact on how much you can go with that volunteering, I guess. I would also say that something like uh, Nuorisopalvelukamari, or JCI in English, it's like a professional development organization. And if you join a chamber in Finland, you would have the opportunity to work on projects and be able to do things that maybe you don't. I mean, even if you have a job, you could then volunteer through this volunteer experience. You could be improving your skills that you already have, or learning something that you would like to learn but don't necessarily get the opportunity to do in your normal job description.
Exactly. it could be portfolio building. It could be showing a different side of your expertise. It could be something that you just don't get to do in your day-to-day life, that you just want to showcase and hopefully move toward that direction. Because again, even career changers can benefit from volunteering, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Let's think. What else could we talk about with this?
I kind of want to work, I kind of want to talk about being someone that has led volunteers. I think one thing that comes to mind when people want to volunteer is how to get the positions that they are really looking for. So for example, those more sought after things, like the more sexy roles, let's say. And I would say when choosing volunteers, when choosing people to trust with these sort of roles, the roles that actually look best in your CV, they look best in your portfolio, what we look for is motivation and commitment, because one of the most common things when working with volunteers is that they could abandon you in a time of need, or they can't be trusted. So I think that when you're looking for those volunteering positions, just show your commitment and show that you really want to do this, and you really want and also need this position for your career. Just because there is, let's say, 10 people that are aiming for the same one, and picking a volunteer and onboarding them takes time and resources. And usually let's say, organizations that have volunteers, they don't have lots of time and lots of resources. So I think really underlying the commitment and the passion is your way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The communication is very important between the volunteer and the organization to make sure that all of those things are clear.
Yeah.
And you do mention that that does happen a lot of times where an organization has volunteers and those volunteers sort of flake out in some kind of way. They,
Yeah.
they're supposed to be doing something and then they just don't ever do it. And I mean, I think that to an extent there's like an understanding of like why somebody might be like, well, I'm not getting paid for this and whatever, but it also is showing a kind of an unprofessional side or something that could maybe uh, end up burning a bridge or something that would be completely unnecessary if you were just better about communicating things. And that's a two-way street, of course.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's very important. And it is true. A lot of organizations are in a position where like they would love to be able to pay people, but they're just not in a position to be able to do that. So they have to rely on people to volunteer. And I think that in those cases, they want to be able to give their volunteers something. Hopefully, it's if they can't give them an actual compensation through, you know, some kind of a salary or even, I don't know, gift cards or something like that. Uh, they want to at least be able to show like this was valuable to you. You got to do something that you can now use, and I can give you a recommendation and everything else. And it's good to be able to maybe have that all kind of laid out ahead of time so everybody's on the same page. Easier said than done, but it's never too late to bring things up, I guess, also. I
Mm.
I find that this is a something I run into a lot with the people in the international community is sort of like a very nervous feeling of trying to bring something up and to speak up. And I think in general, you'll find more help in Finland if you just ask for it. It's not usually just given, even if you seem like very obviously in need of it. It's especially if you're dealing with the Finnish people themselves. There's so much of that privacy and respect of individuality in the culture that the understanding from their perspective is that if you need help, you'll ask for it. And so if you need help, you should ask for it.
I want to add on this because I think that, yes, it's true, but I think not really generic help. I think we have to learn to ask for very specific help. So
Very
come
specific. Yeah.
forward with goals that you want to reach, goals that you want to reach, or specific ambitions that you have. Help me, not help me get a job, but help me learn XYZ so that I can get this job. I think people are more likely to help if there is a path already defined by you, and they have a spot in which they can come in and do their thing, rather than just have to also figure out how to help you. So that's
Yeah,
my 2 cents.
absolutely.
Yep. And I
And
think that oh, go ahead, Daphne.
no, I think that's the best thing I've heard like ever around volunteering, because when you just show up and I can do whatever you require me to do, then sometimes it's more difficult to actually come up with something. But then, for example, if someone comes up and says something that I know that I'm having trouble with in our organization, then it might be easier to say yes. So good point on that, Mara.
Yeah. And I think that that's actually something that we can use also when looking for a job. I think that if there is a company that you're very interested in, and you actually have a plan on what to do for them, something that you could do, reaching out and telling them, hey, I've noticed that, I don't know, the text on your website is like very outdated or full of typos, or your translation in my language is incorrect. I could do it. I could translate it. Please, let's hop on a call and talk about this. This could actually be more helpful in landing a job than sending your CV and just hoping that they will call you back. In my opinion, I think in Finland, this sort of drive and this sort of very specific ambition is very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, and that can always like something like translating on a website, like you could end up doing that as a volunteer thing for one or two organizations, but then they could start recommending you to other people who really need it. And there you go, you might have yourself a job there.
Yeah.
So I think for the most part, like good organizations are going to be the kind of people who pay things forward. They're going to recommend you. They're going to want to help you for what you were able to do for them. And if you get into a relationship with a good place that has a big network, then you also might have access to that network yourself. So that's a good thing to consider because networking is really such a key part of the integration process and the job seeking process, especially.
And
Yeah.
what, in your opinion, both of you, what happens when you volunteered and it's something that it's ongoing, but then you're not being recognized? And on the other hand, there's nothing kind of moving you forward. Because I know some people here are in that position or have experienced that. What do you do, or what do you recommend for them?
Well, I guess the first thing is if you don't feel like you're getting recognized, then you should be addressing that with the organization. Like, why are you not crediting me for this or whatever it is? You want to let it know. It's like, please be praising my work and putting me on display here. I want people to know that I did this.
Mm.
And if they're not already doing that, then they should. But if they continue to just ignore that and don't do it, then it's probably a good time to just step away too, because you're not being respected in that regard. And I think it's important to set boundaries. And if people
Mm.
cross them, you might be able to talk to them and say, "Hey, I have a boundary. You crossed it." That gives them a chance to make it right. If they still don't do it, then you say, "All right, then this is over." You don't necessarily have
I
to go and make a big public display of it or anything, but uh, you know, you can maybe say, well, then I'm stepping away from this and I'll tell other people that this was my experience too. Maybe on the
mm.
down low.
I think that this is actually a great segue for the next topic. I think that you have to take then the matter into your own hands and be your own personal cheerleader, and be the one that makes a lot of noise about yourself publicly. So, I did this. I am volunteering for so and so, and this is what I did. Posting on LinkedIn, starting a blog, adding things to your portfolio. Everything that you do is um, things that could be used for content, things that could be used for a job interview. The fact that they're not showcasing you doesn't mean that all your time was wasted. Just make the most out of it and make this your brand. So I
Right.
think that, let's say, if you're working for a whole year as a volunteer, because in Finland, oftentimes the most important positions are a year long. Let's say that by September you don't feel recognized and you feel stuck, like you're not learning all that much. It's not specifically your handler or your manager's fault. It's just that sometimes that's just how it is. There are lulls in what you can do, and that's why you shouldn't volunteer for the same position forever, in my opinion. If you actually want to learn something, I would say bring up your goals to whoever is whoever is in charge of you. Try to change things, and if not, just again, take things into your own hands. Be proactive, be ambitious, talk about it with anyone that will listen. Make sure that people know what you did. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. This is now kind of like cross into attitude. So if you guys are ready, we can move on to that because we pretty much have hit that time frame. If you have anything else to say about volunteering.
I
Not
think
me.
I think it's all connected. But yeah, if we can connect it now,
Yeah.
like I would like you guys to use this raise your hand button that we have on the screen. And I want to know, and I want to let Matthew and Mara know, how many of you have volunteered in Finland already? Nice. Okay. So now that we know, I'm gonna lower the hand, I think. Yeah, good. Okay, Ria too. Awesome. So when I think about volunteering and the attitude that I should have on it, and again, I'll say that I find it that we have to be a little selfish. So if you wake up one morning and you're like, okay, I need to do something with my time that is valuable and that kind of takes me to that next step of my career, then you're kind of showing up with this energetic feel of this is going to work for me. So when you're actually volunteering, and as you have experience also, Dao, thanks for raising your hand. In this experience, you want to create something that not only showcases you online, offline, and so on, as you were mentioning, Mara, but it also is something that you'll take throughout the people you meet, and you will kind of create more opportunities out of the attitude that you're showing up with. So in the case that you've already volunteered or you're thinking about volunteering, more than what you're going to do for others is how do you want to show up and how are others going to see you? So when we have like these moments that are not really showcasing what we're capable of doing, so our skills, soft or hard, or maybe what we want to learn, what's your attitude around that? So if you can question yourself right now, how have you felt before? What are you doing to change those moments of maybe disappointment when you're not being recognized? Instead of, I would say, personal opinion, of course, instead of showing up and having to demand that you have to be recognized, why don't you become that person that's recognizing others? Because it becomes a mirror. So whatever you're doing and showcasing to others, it kind of reflects back. And you don't have to be the most outgoing person or extroverted person to just say, "Hey, that was good. We did a good job." This also shows teamwork, or maybe on other aspects that are needed when you're volunteering or working with others. So that's at least the first thing that comes to my mind when I connect it to volunteering and the attitude. But I don't know, Matthew, what else do you think that we should discuss and allow them to keep thinking? I would like to hear their questions at the end.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, when it comes to the attitude thing, what made me want that to even be a topic in the first place is because I've noticed a lot of people lately on places like LinkedIn, for instance, who have been very frustrated with their job search, uh, especially the people who have been unemployed for years, like 2 years or more, and how now they seem to be in a place of all of their posts are very negative. And uh, there's a person in particular that I see that it just seems like every single post is coming from this place of anger and frustration. And I feel like they what is happening with this person is probably guaranteeing that they will not get hired because they're just putting on display that they have a really bad attitude. And I've seen some people discuss this, and there are plenty of people who think that that's actually no, this is the time to make our frustrations known and understand like our mental health is deteriorating and this is not okay and all this other stuff. And I feel that from a perspective of an employer, uh, if you're seeing a person who is putting themselves out there in that kind of way, uh, it doesn't really present a particularly good side of that person. And then when you're going to try to invite them into your workplace and to be a representative of your company and all that kind of stuff, you're essentially saying I'm bringing this in. Like this is a side of a person that I should expect will be a part of the workplace. I mean, I think some of the people would be like, no, 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 if you give me a job, it'll fix me up right away. And it's like, I don't think it works that way. Um, but I also have noticed, I'm not going to be calling anybody out here, so I'll just say I've noticed people. But I also noticed a person who lost their job earlier this year, and they went on and they talked about it, but they did it in a way where uh, they did not blame the country, they did not blame their employer, they did not talk about, what a horrible world we're living in or anything like that. It was more like this happened. I'd really like some people to help me in my network. I'd appreciate it. This is what I'm kind of looking for. And, a few months later, that person got another job because people actually showed up for them, went to bat for them, were willing to put their own reputation on the line for them. I don't think that people are necessarily going to do that for a person who maybe comes across in a much more negative, complaining, entitled kind of way. And I'm not saying that they necessarily are coming from that perspective. It's just about how they're sort of maybe portraying themselves and how it might be interpreted. I think that the image that you're putting out there is going to create those first impressions, and they can be damning, in some way. And I think even if you do feel the frustration, you feel the anger, uh, there's a support network I would hope you would have, close people to you that you can be open with like that. Going onto your public social media and venting it to people who could prospectively be your employer, it's probably not the best place to do it. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that too.
You mentioned many things that I do have an opinion comments on. I'll start with the attitude on job seeking, right? So we can be negative about things, like we have these emotions for a reason. So psychologically, they're letting us know that we like or we don't like something, or that we should take care of something in particular. But then when it comes to showcasing these opinions and feelings online, I think you have to think long term. So we have short term actions and long term results. And if you do something that is impulsive, like, having an opinion on the current situation that we're living, because we're not the only ones, it has to come with, what do you want to get out of this? Is it for attention? Okay. Who is going to give you the attention? Other job seekers that have the same opinion? And then you have to think, is that really what's going to get you to that next level to get the job? Probably not. Why? Because job seekers are also job seekers. They don't have a job for you. But then again, it's okay that you have a negative like emotion, opinion. We're all on the same page. But here's where I think that attitude and the way that you can use optimism in your favor comes in. It's specifically on who would be able to give you that job and what their bubble, so their perspective, their life, their work is happening in their life, right? And they're probably not living what we're living. They don't know how hard it actually is to get a job in this market. They're thinking, I need to make more money, otherwise I can't employ other people. Or they're not thinking that at all. They're thinking about meeting deadlines and other things. So the attitude you have online and offline, because it has to reflect the same thing at some level, is 100% the most important thing when you're volunteering, when you're looking for a job, when you're creating your cover letter and CV, because it's something that we can read or kind of like, do we want this person in the team? And you said another thing, Matthew, about bad LinkedIn post or a LinkedIn post that showcases a bad experience, and a LinkedIn post that showcases a optimistic experience on, like looking for work. I think for both of them, if you don't have the platform, people that will help you out on that journey, it becomes, why are you posting? Like, what's the point on this? So with the person that posted, we already mentioned that, probably you'll attract job seekers that will share that opinion, want to blame, the current either political market or even other employers. But on the other hand, okay, you're posting about your experience, you don't blame anyone. It looks optimistic. But again, you can only go so far when you have the right network, you have the right experience and the right personal brand. If you have never created a personal brand in the first place, you're going to probably have crickets stinging and not even likes. And at least something that I always think about when I'm showing up online is, if someone tracks my digital footprint and they see that I made this post, will I be proud of defending that? If yes, it's an automatic go, even if I don't get likes. If no, and there's no result of it, then there's no point of posting that. But again, you have to already think about the personal brand that you have, who will kind of support that, and then how are you going to use it to move you forward. So even if it's negative or optimistic perspective and posting, you have to have an intention around it. Now, this is the last of what you were mentioning, Matthew, on the fact that it's okay to kind of show up and be positive. You don't always have to be very like cheerful and happy. Like, you can also have an opinion that does not have to be the same one as everyone else, but it's in the way that you're kind of putting it out there. Because if it's just about like the negative side of things, then there's no actual effect or purpose to that. But if you have like this, there's a problem and we have to fix it. This is what I think we should do. And if anyone around is already doing it, this is how I can help, or I need people to join me in this sense. Let's say that you are, as we are, in marketing, and you see that Finland's brand on happiest country in the world is not something that you're kind of like seeing that's moving things forward. We can have an opinion. It cannot be on the side of that you're not very happy about the happiest country in the world. But then what can we do about it? Well, we can use these things, or we can brand it this way. Then it becomes part of your portfolio. So that's about attitude, not necessarily having to have the best feelings about the situation, but more like, what are you doing about it, and how can you use the things and the people on seeing you and around you to kind of keep you moving forward? What do you guys think? What do you think, Amara?
Yeah, actually, I have to agree with all of you, but I have something to add, that is that there is a space for complaining online, and there's a space for complaining because specifically it's your right, and if you're unhappy about a situation, you should be able to say it. But I think that there is a little bit of a bias that comes when you're on LinkedIn or on social media and you see someone else complain and be successful about it. So getting a lot of likes, getting a lot of traction. And I think that that kind of skews our way of seeing this as something that will have no consequences. But I think that these people that are successful complainers about politics, about the state of things in the world at the moment, they do so from a place of privilege, which is a place of lots of experience in their career, a paid position already, and basically they know that they're not going to be unemployed anytime soon. I also think that there is always a blend of positive or more work related, more their position related posting, and then something about complaints about the situation, which I think that that's very hard balance to strike. And that's why it feels like that's something that you can do successfully. But at the end of the day, if everything you've ever posted is how sad and depressing it is to be unemployed and how not hopeful you feel, then that becomes your brand versus how good you are at doing your job, or this is what you learned at your past position, which you were very sad to leave. I think that it's that's the attitude issue. It's if that's your only attitude, that's a problem. If there is a blend of positive and negative, or professional and a little bit of unprofessional, then that's more acceptable in my eyes.
Yeah. Do you feel that having a positive attitude attracts positive positive opportunities? Having a negative attitude attracts negative personalities, negative opportunities?
No, I don't think
No?
so. Imagine if all the presidents in the world had a really good attitude around things and positive opinions of everyone in the world. It would be a better world. But we don't have that, and they are the best paid in the world. Not necessarily paid, but they have really a great position, right, with power. So, in the sense of you don't have to have the best attitude towards things, but you have to be careful with how you're showing up around people. And then I think you guys mentioned something about the positions that we're in. Again, these presidents, they are in a specific position. They have that privilege of being able
Yeah.
to have these type of attitudes. But we're all different here, and I don't know everyone's background, but if as immigrants in a place where we might have a limited network, um, we have to play our cards, and we are in a game of what attitude you have to choose. And sometimes being optimistic and not optimistic is not having to be happy about things all the time, but what is the best thing I can obtain out of the situation, or create, or even influence as well. I think that's how I at least define optimistic. How can you use that in your favor? Well, instead of seeing the what they say, the glass half full, or is it opposite maybe? You have
Half
to
empty is,
have
yeah,
empty
half
and
empty is
see it
like
half
the
full.
pessimistic, yeah.
Exactly. So the way that you kind of see or use things around you is what I define as the attitude that we should be having. Now, like bringing it back to what you were saying about like there's a platform for things. Yeah, definitely. I would say that LinkedIn is not the platform where you should be complaining. Then you can go to TikTok, or you can go to X to have an opinion where you want to cause controversial um, impactful opinions on others, or bring others together for that. On the other hand, we also are social human beings, so we need, because we're here talking to each other, so we need a group of people that can either listen to us, or everyone's going to judge. So be in a place where you can freely share that. Again, I think that if you're going to share such opinions of the job seeking journey you're going through, or maybe someone automatically sent you a rejection to your CV application, you can complain, but what are you going to do about that? Can you do something? And when are you going to start? I think action has, at least in my career journey, has been the one that determines most things. And if others see it around you and they're like, well, she's been, and using my example, she's been rejected more than 100 times, but they're still doing this, but they're still taking courses, but they're still talking to the right people. That's attitude. That's being and having an optimistic attitude. Not happy, not lying to yourself either, but more like, okay, let's do something about this.
Yeah, actually, you kind of touched on something that I was going to say, because just speaking about the job hunting in Finland in general, and kind of looking at sort of the realistic situation, I completely understand the frustration that people get because it is difficult. It's difficult for everybody right now. There's a very high unemployment rate. The types of jobs that are available versus the types of people who really want to fill these jobs are kind of not really balanced. And you will find yourself in a lot of cases as a job seeker being one of 100 people or something like that when you apply to a job. That doesn't mean that you're not a good candidate. It doesn't mean that, you're never going to get anything. It just means that there's a lot of competition and the chances are kind of, not so great initially. But what you need to do is keep going and find a way to uh, find advantages for yourself by knowing the right people, asking the right questions, improving the right skills, making yourself stand out. If you just keep going and say, well, there's no point anymore, this country it just hates me and I'm never going to amount to anything, then it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's certainly coming from a bad attitude versus the better attitude of like, I'm just going to keep going. Something will come along. This one didn't work out. It just wasn't meant to. The next thing will be a better thing. And I think that the difference between a person who is a success is it's like a successful person is just like a person who failed and then they kept going until they didn't fail anymore. Is kind of how I like to look at it. If you keep going, you'll eventually succeed. But if you give up or just feel completely discouraged and defeated by it, then you sort of set yourself up for that. Like it's kind of how it comes across to me, I think.
Yeah, on that, something to not confuse everyone is opinion, attitude, and then also communication. So 3 different things, and then you can mix and match. And the truth is that you can have a negative opinion on things again, but you can find a way to make things happen. And I think everyone right now in the current market that we have, we're looking for people that make things happen. So even if, I don't know, for example, I'm looking for someone, by the way, to handle our social media. And everyone that's applying has a negative attitude on how social media is handled in Finland. I'll probably share that same opinion. Again, opinion. The way they're communicating it might be on their cover letter saying that, well, you know what, no one here is taking the same action. And everything here is very, I don't know, very boring, let's say. But I have all the knowledge in the world, or I've been practicing, and I'm willing to put everything that I've done for your specific case and move things forward, because then together, we're going to stand out. So that's a negative opinion about the current situation, the way you're communicating, and then again, making things happen. That's overall the attitude that I see. It can be, this is a top of mind example, but in your case, and I think I've talked to a few of you here. In your case, how are you showing up for yourself and kind of keeping your attitude on that sense. Are you making things happen? Are you a person that's a go-getter? Because I think that's what you were mentioning, Matthew, about, oh yeah, we have to try and try until we get there. I specifically wake up every morning, I'm like, am I going to try today, or am I going to make things happen today? And that has been a differentiator in my life. Well, I can't try everything, so I'm going to make one thing happen today. That's the attitude. Get things going.
Are you familiar with the accountability ladder?
I'm not actually, but share with us.
Okay, well, the accountability ladder is it's basically this thing that a lot of businesses use to, they give them to their employees about your attitude toward things, about taking accountability, and also there's basically, I think there's 8 things. Let's see. I have it right in front of me too. I just grabbed it so that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So the bottom 4 are more of like that negative perspective, and so you want to be in the top 4, and the closest to the top that you can, the better. So the bottom rung is unconscious and aware. Like this is the misbelief that ignorance is bliss or simply not being engaged. Then the next level up is to blame others, projecting the responsibilities for the problem or its solutions onto others. Then the next one up is the I can't excuse. So like listing reasons to justify why the problem can't or shouldn't be solved. And then the last of the bottom tiers is wait and hope. So this is the misbelief that inaction is acceptable or that it's self-correcting. And then the next set starts with acknowledge reality, assess the reality of the situation and realize that a problem needs to be fixed, own it, take ownership of the problem, realize the role you play in the situation, find solutions, search for solutions no matter how challenging the problem might be, and then the top one is make it happen. So once a solution is found, implement it by taking action and making it happen. And of course, that applies mostly if you're already in a, it's about your own responsibilities in your job, things like that, but also in that that professional space of just trying to either find a job or find a new opportunity, having the attitude where you are looking into ways to actually find a solution and to keep going and to make the thing happen instead of letting these barriers in your way keep you back. I think that that's kind of a good mindset to have when you're going into any of these types of situations, just to be like, yes, I realize that this is the problem. I realize that it's a real challenge, but I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to ask for help where I can. I'm going to try to utilize my network, ask them specifically, does anybody know anybody who is like looking for this type of position or something that I could be doing with this? Do you know anybody? So not general help, like can anybody help? Being able to specifically ask for a type of position or a type of opportunity, and just kind of like not taking no for an answer, and just pushing forward until something happens. Because if you act that way in this space, people will notice, people will respond. It might not happen as quickly as you'd like it to, but you just got to keep on going.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
I think that's a really great way to put it. I have to go in a minute, but I would like
Okay.
to leave everyone with at least this point, and it's that if you can make something happen for yourself, then you can definitely make something, whatever that is, happen for your potential coworkers or even employer. And if you can, instead of asking for it, just show up and do it. Then it doesn't matter if they give you the opportunity or not, because you can take that into your hands and say that you did it. And that's how you take advantage of the platform, of the occasion and situation. And I think that's taking it back to volunteering. If you're going to volunteer, do it with intention and with the right attitude to take advantage of it. Think about them, but think more about you. It's always first you and then everyone else. It It was nice talking to everyone. Reach out if you need anything. I'm going to go to another meeting, but I leave you with Mara and Matthew. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, Daphne. Thank you so much. All right. Do you have anything to add, Mara, before we move on to Q&A?
Maybe just reinforcing this last point that Daphne made. When life gives you lemons, just make lemonade. If it might look like it's a terrible situation, but if you're able to spin it in your favor, then all is good. I just want to give the example of when the new proposal for immigration laws were introduced in Finland, specialists in Finland really banded together. And yeah, it started with complaining on LinkedIn, but then they just managed to now create a really huge community that is still active to this day. I believe on Telegram, where they discuss not only legislation, but the job market and how attractive Finland is and so on. It just became a way for those main organizers to become activists and showcase others rather than just complain and have a bad attitude. They made the bad attitude their brand, and it now led to, again, new skills that they can showcase and something that they have made out of the bad situation. So I think that this is the attitude that you should have. Yeah, a situation is terrible. It doesn't mean that you can't say it. Now we're just thinking about the job market, but there are other things that people can complain about. I don't know, motherhood and how bad it is to, I don't know, have a career gap because of pregnancy, or specific mistreatment that they can receive because of racism or a disability that they have. It doesn't mean that those things can't be said. They just have to be said in a way that it has a point and a direction once again. So yeah.
Very well said. Well, before we do the Q&A, I will say, first of all, thank you to Mara and Daphne for coming on here. And if you want to share like some more info of where they can go and find you guys and get involved with what you're doing, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, you can find both me and Daphne on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect, and we are usually quite open to answer your questions and help you out personally as well. And if you want to learn more about Hei Dingo, you can find us on all socials at Hei Dingo, or at our website, hey-dingo.com. So yeah.
Yeah, here, I'll go ahead and put, here's Mara's LinkedIn. And I think I have Daphne's ready to go too. So you'll be able to get that in the chat. And then a reminder that this is being recorded. We're gonna, when we open up the questions, if you don't want your face on here, you don't have to have the camera on if you don't want to. But of course, if you are comfortable with that, go right ahead. And if you don't want to actually be talking, you can put your questions into the chat. There's a question already that we'll start with, but the rest of you can just raise your hand and I'll come to you. So I think that's a good way to move forward with this. And I guess I should also put my own LinkedIn for those who don't have it. And so that's mine. And you can also go to InterProFinland PSTFI to find out more about International Professionals Finland. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to the Q&A part. And our first question that we got during the discussion was about like, how can we volunteer to work for Chamber of Commerce? So I think that may be referring to Norrakauppakamari. It's a Youth Chamber of Commerce, JCI. Well, first of all, JCI is open to people between the ages of 18 and 40. And if you are 38 or younger, you would be able to become a trial member, because the first year is a trial year, and then you'd be a full member after that. I highly encourage being a part of Norrakauppakamari because it's a great place to network and develop yourself professionally and also personally. A lot of personal development that can go through that. There are chambers all over Finland. It's an international organization, so there are places all over the world. The more involved you get, the more opportunities you could have. You'd be able to do things on a local level, a regional level, a national level, and also there's a European conference every year. You could travel somewhere, be a part of that, meet people from other countries that are also uh, involved in the chambers. And it's the kind of place where you can go and say, hey, I'm really interested in doing this. Okay, the person who asked the question said that they're out of the range, the age range right now. But there are other places that you could maybe get involved with. Maybe reach out to me and I could try to think of some. I'm having a little trouble coming up with names right now, but there are other professional development type organizations that you could get involved with. And let me know also like where in Finland you are too, and that could help because some of the things are going to be more on a local level, and then others you might be able to go wherever. So, but you can go to JCI Finland's website and find out where the closest place is for you there, and then you can find out somebody who's in the chamber that could maybe say, yeah, this is the person you need to talk to. Starting next month is usually going to be, there's twice a year where they take on new members. November is usually one of them, and then the other is probably like April. So if you do have an interest, you have time to still get in by the end of this year. So, and if you still have questions about it, you can reach out to me. I'm too old now, but I was in I was in JCI for a few years, and it was a great experience. So, any other questions? Someone's typing something right now, but go ahead and raise your hand if you have questions, or you can also put your comments into, like if you don't have a question, you just want to speak to something that we talked about.
I also want to
shy.
add to the previous question that it not just about the Chamber of Commerce, but usually if you want to volunteer somewhere, even if it doesn't look like they have volunteers, just ask.
Yeah,
Again, mention what you want to do, if they're open to taking you as a volunteer or as an intern, unpaid, whatever, and see what they have to say. Usually asking is the right path forward.
yeah. Yeah, that was something we mentioned earlier. Like you can reach out and ask questions even if it's not something that was necessarily part of the opportunity, or if you just find a company that you really like, you would love to work there, reaching out and saying, I really like you, I really want to work with you. Is there any opportunity, even a volunteer opportunity? A lot of times they might be like, yeah, we'd love to have someone come and volunteer with us. And if you are a person who's on like um, a job plan, a job seeking plan with like the TE office, and you are looking to do a work trial kind of opportunity, this is exactly what you would do. You reach out to a company and you set something up, and then you get it in writing with TE office. You can go and do that
Yeah.
for at least a couple months, maybe up to 6. It might lead to a lot of those will actually be like, oh, after the 6 months, we really like you. We might give you another 6 months or even hire you. So there's all sorts of possibilities that come out of it. So it's a good thing to consider.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, our next question is, what should one's attitude toward finding a job and volunteering work if she has only education and experience from her home country, nothing from here? Do you want to answer that? Or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is about attitude. I think, yes, positive attitude, of course. But I think that, yes, this is a problem that most people have when they first move here. I would say start with volunteering, start with like looking around and understanding more about the country through volunteering, what is expected in a professional environment, what is expected as far as tasks, time management, once again, attitude, problem solving, how things are usually done. And again, like depending on what your field is and what you're planning to do, this might seem hard. Like, let's say if you're, for example, a medical professional or something that is not so obvious, I don't know, a researcher, I would still think of all the side skills that you use in your day-to-day basis in your previous role in your home country, and think of places where you could exercise those skills further in Finland. So let's say if you were a researcher or a lab technician in your home country, then any volunteer work that requires a little bit of project management could be a good place to start, so that you, I don't know, manage a project, manage some sort of resources, have to organize yourself. It helps you see how things are done. It showcases flexibility. It's something that you can bring forward in job interviews, something that you have started with. And then, of course, as far as looking for a job, yeah, it's tough, but it's not impossible without any experience in Finland. So I would just say try and be aware of your strengths and where you excel compared to people that did not work outside of Finland, for example.
Yeah, and you can comment on this too if you feel differently, but a lot of times when we are talking about some of this volunteer work and about experience, especially outside of Finland versus inside of Finland, uh, a lot of the Finnish culture works kind of like this, almost like a I trust my neighbor before I trust somebody else, like kind of thing. So being able to say that you have done something in Finland can be sometimes more valuable than the experience that you have outside. Kind of depends on what it is, but uh, sometimes you could actually have more value in the 6 months of volunteering that you've done than, years of experience outside, depending on the way that people are kind of looking at it. Like, oh, well, I can say that you've been here doing this for 6 months. I can look at a person here, and if they think that you've done a good job, then that's good enough for me. But I have no idea what you did in your previous, in your home country or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think that that's a good thing to consider when you're looking to try to get into something. And if you're in that situation, make sure that the volunteering that you're trying to do is going to be something that is directly going to be benefiting you and getting relevant experience in Finland that you can then apply to the jobs you're trying to get. Um, and it's kind of this is all sort of part of like networking and overall integration journey as well. Like it's good to get involved with things that are going to lay down a path for you to something else that you want, whether it's your career or uh, something else, even if like it's your hobbies or school for your children, anything like that. But you can definitely look into the volunteer and educational opportunities in Finland that are available that could then give you the next step for yourself. And if you're still having questions about that, you're welcome to reach out uh, to me directly, or I don't know if Maro wants to give you
Yeah,
advice as well.
definitely. I can definitely advise, especially because I think that there's a lot of fringe experiences. Like I'm saying, for example, people that have spent most of their career in academia or a little bit more technical sides of things are not so aware of what sort of volunteering things they can do because they don't usually need to talk about their transferable skills so much. But I think that if you need help for your specific case, I can definitely give you my ideas what I would do in your shoes. But I want to add about these. You can help out anywhere. I would say that if you want to volunteer and if you want to get a job and you want to show that something that you have a place in Finland, um, Finland is actually super tiny, and the moment that you start volunteering and going to events, you're going to meet the same people 3 4 10 times, and suddenly you exist. That's also a way to start showing that you are trustworthy, like, yeah, you are in Finland to stay, you're making friends, you're making connections. That helps quite a lot.
Uh, Another question came in about how to volunteer when many volunteer opportunities are in Helsinki and you don't live in Helsinki. I would say that that's not really true. There's volunteering opportunities everywhere in Finland. So if you don't know of them yet, then we can maybe help you with that. It might be more challenging in some like really small cities. You might need to find a city, but if you're at least in the vicinity of one of the major cities of Finland, it doesn't matter if you're in Helsinki or not. You should be able to find something.
You can also volunteer online. There's many volunteer roles that don't really require you to be present. There's, for
Yeah.
example, sales or partnership roles that just basically require you to have an internet connection, know how to write emails and pick up a phone. Or if you want to do other stuff like fundraising, it just requires that you can follow schedules and guidelines and meet with people online. It's not that crazy, but I think that yeah, there's many, like we are now a bit biased because we do live in big cities, but there is places in the middle of nowhere where it looks like there is nothing. But I just want to add that it's also very easy to start something. If there's something that you're passionate about, it can just start as a social media page and you build skills that way as well. It's just portfolio building. Yet, yes, it does not look reputable at the beginning, but if you have been writing a blog for 6 months consistently, it shows consistency, it shows copywriting skills, it shows that you are a little bit internet savvy. You can do those things. Like, I do think that when there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give an example of a way that you could kind of get a remote opportunity from a Helsinki-based organization. So like there's a place called Familia, and they specialize in helping to support intercultural families in Finland. So usually that means that one or maybe both of the parents of children are not Finnish citizens, and so they want to be able to support those kinds of families. They have lots of events and support groups that, yes, mostly meet in Helsinki, but they're very open to trying to spread around to other places. And if you have a desire to see that kind of thing show up in your place that doesn't already exist, you'd be able to go to them, and they would probably be very open to supporting you to get that to happen. So, like for instance, have done a fathers group in Pori, where I'm located, and it's done in a way that is both hybrid as well. So I also did one when it was still kind of during the pandemic time where I was talking to guys from all over the country. We all got together in like a Teams meeting like this, or I think it was Zoom, but still, uh, we were able to get together every week and have, a supportive meeting with each other. And uh, that was a volunteering thing. They have some training for their volunteering that you can go through, but they'll be able to help you do that. So for sure, if you are in a position where you can't really travel around and there's really nothing that you're finding in the area, there should be a way to make it happen. We keep coming back to this make it happen attitude, right? So um, there's a question, what are the places and online platforms other than Red Crescent, uh, or maybe that's maybe it's supposed to be the Red Cross, where we can look for volunteer work? Um, well,
Mm,
I think that you could probably reach out to I mean, this is something I could probably look into further specifically for you if you tell me where you are and things like that. But usually you can find if you well, depending on where you are, if you're in a place that has like an international house, for instance, you could go to an international house and ask this very question. They should be partnered with, or at least know of, places around that you could maybe have an opportunity with. If you're in a much smaller city, the city itself might be good to go to because they actually are probably also limited in some of their resources and would be looking forward to help
mm.
that they can get.
I think that there is no specific platform where volunteering opportunities are posted usually. Um, I can recommend doing your own research and outreach. I see now that you are a customer service professional in Helsinki. I
That's
would
good. Yeah.
say universities and education sources are a good place to start. There's a lot of student-led organizations that are always looking for volunteers year-round. I can name a few from the top of my head. Junction always looks. Slush, I think in September they have volunteering applications. All the entrepreneurship societies, I think there's around 10. Start Helsinki, many others actually. International Working Women of Finland.
Mhm.
There is tons of opportunities, and plus you can do your own outreach. Customer service is a bit hard, but let's say if you want to, because most of the volunteering institutions don't have customers per se, they have sometimes members or something of sorts. So you can think of what you actually want to do. So for example, in there you could do partnerships if you want to do outreach, or if you want to manage communities. I would say community management is a good way to do a more customer centric thing. But I would say do your own research and then reach out. Usually they always need helping hands. And again, if you show that you are committed and have a plan in mind, they're gonna let you in, even though they're not looking for someone specifically at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah. In some of these places, they may be able to take your information like sort of like in an open application sense, and there may be a future opportunity that they keep you in mind for. Also, you should always go back and forth to places. If they don't have something for you right now, ask them again a little bit later because they're not necessarily going to remember and come back to you. But it's good to kind of always show, hey, I asked you a few months ago, I'm still interested. And it's like, oh, good, you're still interested, and we actually have something now. So that could always work out. Somebody was typing, but they haven't asked another question. So if anybody wants to, you can also raise your hand and talk if anybody wants to do that.
I'm also gonna put the link to, for example, Junction specifically is looking for volunteers, so I'm sending it in the chat. You can see
Okay,
all the
great.
teams and see, for example, what the teams kind of do, and I think that's good for having an idea of what you can propose to other places as well. So let's say if you see, like I can pick an example, there is a registration team because this is specifically for an event, and this would be a way to do customer service face to face. Okay, maybe Junction is no longer looking for them, but you know of other events and you can approach them and say, I want to specifically do the registration part of things. If this is helpful to anyone.
I think the World Wildlife Fund also often needs volunteers to go to these in-person events and to basically be there to give information to people and try to get people to sign up and become members. So any kind of an experience like where you're going to be interacting with people, and you're going to be speaking in a customer service kind of similar, like a adjacent type of position. That's good to do. And actually, really, if you ever look into any big events like that, you should take a look at the companies that are going to be exhibitors there because you could reach out to them and see if they need people to volunteer at these kinds of events. And maybe you won't get on at the one that's coming up because that's already scheduled, but they might have something for you in the future.
Yep.
And depending on where you are and what you're trying to do, there could possibly be something that Interpro could provide as an opportunity. I mean, right now I have somebody in our local community that is helping with some of our design for one of our projects. When we do twice a month, we have like the ad for them and everything, and she has like some design skills and she wanted to be able to utilize them. So uh, now now she's creating our Minos for those our ads. and she'll be able to have these files to put directly in her portfolio.
Yeah, and the results as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this a wrap?
It might be, if nobody has any more questions. Going once, going twice. All right. Well, then I guess we have a few minutes to spare, but thank you all for joining today, and I hope that you got something out of this discussion. And thank you again so much to Mara and Daphne for coming and having this discussion with us. Let us know if you want to see another discussion like this in the future. Be happy to do this again. This is very insightful.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew, for having us. It was delightful to have this conversation. And again, you can find us on social media if you want to chat more and if you want to continue this discussion. So, yeah.
Yep. All right. All right. Well, with that, I will say goodbye and thanks again to everyone. Everyone's saying thank you as they leave. So there we go. All right. Take care. Until next
Thank you.
time.
Bye-bye.